Hi, and welcome to In the Business Coach's Chair. Throughout this podcast, I'll be interviewing business owners, business leaders, and anybody involved in business at all, and taking them through a short business coaching session. We'll uncover what their deepest fears are, what their greatest desires are, and work out how to sort those out for them. So sit back in your own comfortable chair, relax, and learn about what's happening in the minds of business owners everywhere. Hello and welcome to In the Business Coach's Chair. Today I have an artist, Ben Rousseau. Hello, Ben. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. You've got a piece of your artwork in the background. It's beautiful. And I've been looking on your website. You're a very interesting artist. Just give people the context that your art sits in, because it's quite unusual.
Thank you. Well, I like to say I was kind of put on this earth to light up people's lives with my work.
Okay.
And part of that is I love the amazing impact of beautiful lighting on my work. So inherently, if I'm designing a piece of furniture or a piece like the clock on the wall behind me, I use lighting as a kind of my first stepping stone to have this beautiful connection and create this kind of magical energy with a customer. So the chair that I'm sitting in is much more visible from a side angle, where you can see the profiles creating this very curvaceous shape, and it's sort of reminiscent of a shell and the structures you find in nature and these kind of repeating geometries. But yeah, my work is about very personalized work. So I do kind of custom, very limited edition pieces for people, sometimes homeowners, sometimes commercial businesses, but it always has this very deliberate connection. It's doing a job. If it was for a commercial space, it's trying to create drama and theatre in a space. It might be an entrance foyer, a light sculpture. We were just talking about Manchester. I recently completed this beautiful light sculpture in this amazing building in at Walk Mill, which is in the where they're regenerating the area there. Sankey Soaps nightclub. It's kind of one of those buildings. Beautiful Victorian brick building, and I've created this amazing spiral staircase that goes up 5 floors, and that's about celebrating the energy of the building, where people are walking through the building up a spiral staircase, going about their day. And it was for me kind of replicating that in a modern way that that just brings a nice energy to the building. And if I'm making an artwork for someone, specifically like the clocks behind me, that is deliberately meant to create a connection. I want someone to stop and pause and think for a few minutes, a few seconds. Wow, okay, I'm appreciating. I'm here today. We've never been so busy in this world. With so many distractions, business, Facebook, all the social things that people get distracted by. And is there really a better connection, where I think you're spread through so many different platforms potentially, that actually the proper connections with people and yourself is much more watered down, distant, virtual, and it's less meaningful. So for me, my pieces are really about meaning and purpose, and I want the timepiece to kind of encourage someone to stop and say, right, I appreciate living in the moment. I'm here now, and it's nice to watch this time go past for a few seconds. So that's kind of a long-winded way of describing what I do, but
it's a lovely way of describing what you do. And I would urge people to go and look at your website, because they can see that installation of the light sculpture, I would call it, in the stairwell or lobby area. It looks absolutely stunning. I loved it. Okay, so that's your art. Let's talk about your business.
Okay,
because there is the business of art.
for sure.
And how long have you had your business for?
Since 2001. So,
Okay.
many years of doing and creating lots of interesting things for interesting people.
Mm,
Very blessed with some of the projects and the let's say the investment that people put, not only the
mm,
financial aspect, but more so the imagination, because sometimes it's very hard to describe when I'm describing how lighting is going to work with a material and create this kind of feeling and this emotion. People can't quite imagine it. I
no.
think of it in my head and you can show them drawings. It doesn't quite feel the same until you walk into that building, you see this thing and you're walking past the
Mm,
staircase even, and it's a completely different view. And then you look at it from the lift shaft and there are all these different things to think about. And that's partly kind of storytelling
yeah.
and stuff. But in terms of a business, I was a passionate creative, and I worked for a PR and events agency when I left university, and I was lucky
Okay.
to have 2 years producing some really fun events for some youth marketing brands. We did stuff for Radio One, and we did events for Destiny's Child. As a youngster, I was thinking, well, this is great fun. These events are brilliant, but I was also trying to promote my design business and the kind of creative aspect of my own studio, which I didn't quite
Mm,
know what it was going to be, but I did have a hunger for it. And um, so I did 2 years at this PR and events agency, and then I did a show in Milan and a show in London that I was invited to represent my work, and someone asked me to create a bar in their living room, and they had a
wow.
beautiful architectural house, and as a kind of first gig for a designer artist, I was like, well, this is cool, and
Yeah.
but I used to, work all week creating an event, then actually run the event at the weekend, and then you come back in Monday morning and you've got to do it all over again. So there's
Yeah.
very little time to be trying to think about and grow a new business. And
Okay.
but I did these shows. The show in Milan led to the bar, and I thought, okay, well, it then led to another couple of projects, which because we were producing events for people that own nightclubs, and as they
Mm,
started to see the work I did, they were then, can you do something for me or my home or actually, can you build a bar in the restaurant? And it kind of grew from word of mouth. And as a youngster with great connections, in awe of this world, I was hungry, to just prove myself, work all kind of hours. I set the business up in I must have been 24 years old, and I didn't have a clear business plan. And
okay.
I kind of knew I had contacts around me that I literally, so many contacts, I could almost take my pick. And that was a dangerous kind of thing because I just dived into stuff, without a real clear plan to set
Mm,
out beforehand what I did. And I am an impulse person, I tend to
okay.
do things quickly. I react, my imagination is going wild the whole time. And so I think had I actually sat down and looked, could I give myself the advice of looking back now at my younger me? It would
Mm-hmm.
be let's kind of try and plan the direction of where you want to go before you kind of dive into all these things, because being honest, you look at my website and the variations in work. So I have, it's the same kind of ingredients. I work with
Yeah,
people.
it is. There's a
You,
theme.
there is very much an identity that
Yeah.
kind of high tech. It's kind of quite
Yeah.
futuristic. I use very beautiful materials, and there is this kind of engineered finish. Things look
Yeah.
really premium, like you'd see in a sports car or a fancy watch.
Yeah.
All those details are super important to me, but they're expensive to do. They're time
Mm,
consuming to get right. Sometimes if you get problems or, as a small business and you're making something very expensive and you get, a scratch on it in transport, that's not your fault and someone else
mm-hmm.
does. I was the one that was footing the bill for, oh, hang on a minute,
Yeah.
I've only got so much profit in this job. Now I've got to bring this huge piece of furniture back, get someone else to, pay them to polish it out and do this, that, and the other, and then deliver it back again. And then suddenly you've lost your profit margin.
Yeah, you
And
have.
so there's there's a I would say there's a very more calculated way of setting up a business, and I have done lots of amazing things, but is work could I have made my life easier, and
Mm,
could I have been more focused? And the answer is definitely yes.
okay.
But I have built this amazing portfolio with some amazing clients, and so I think that you can't turn back time, but I
No.
think that the planning aspect and being more focused at the beginning would have potentially made things a little more smooth and plain sailing.
Yeah.
And for instance, I had a workshop and I had a business partner for a little while because I'm an ideas person, great talking to clients, great talking about ideas, a total kind of bull in a china shop to make things happen, getting
Okay.
connections, finding these amazing craftsmen that, maybe work on cars and film props, but I take them from their world and bring them into the interiors world and
Okay.
find these special people. So I'm great at that. But there's not a lot of time left in the day for doing the managing the business, the marketing,
No.
and so if I'm guilty of anything, it's the doing the bits that I'm less excited about, and
Right.
and identifying that early on and putting someone in place to kind of help you smooth those areas out would have been, the golden advice that I could give my younger self.
Okay. And if you had a magic wand, Ben, which problem in your business would you solve right now?
Um, I would say, um, I would say timing of um, people giving me a yes to the sort of projects that
Okay.
we undertake. Now, and by example for that, I'm going to use something simple. So, like with the timepieces, this is a collection I've been doing for about 8 years now. Um, Last 5 or 6 years was very much art pieces as a one-off. And when we lived in California, we had 5 glorious years out there, and I would, be in a nice black suit, speaking to these homeowners in Beverly Hills and these fancy places, and they're a little bit, oh, it's James Bond, and then I bring a clock, and they'd be like, oh my God, this is amazing, and it was an easy conversation to get a job, but I hadn't commercialized the timepiece, so it was a
Okay.
difficult thing to when people are like, oh, I want one of these, actually making them in any kind of volume and at a price point that was sensible was very difficult. Now, I've commercialized them myself, designed my own electronics, meticulously designed these things within an inch of their life to a point where
Okay.
I'm incredibly proud of them. It is basically a timepiece that tells the time using a building pattern of light. So
Okay.
there's no hands and numbers as on a traditional clock. So it is very much an artistic representation, and it is designed for hotels in like a feature area in a luxury hotel or a fancy gym. But as a as someone who's invested a lot of time into now going down this route, trying to promote this one collection of work amongst the other work.
Mm,
For instance, I show it to a hotel company and they're like, okay, well, we love the piece, but we're not doing the hotel for 3 years. So the
yeah.
timing of when they need the piece is it's incredibly difficult to keep communicating for 3 years, and make sure that you're still on their radar. Obviously, the planning is done quite a bit up front. So
Yeah.
actually getting them on board is not like it's not a 3-year waiting list, but the timing, a lot of my stuff is not a decision right now,
No.
to give me a green light. And if I could have one thing, it would be getting much more instantaneous answers rather than long-winded, drawn-out conversations
Yeah.
that go on and on and on.
How do you measure your pipeline?
Um, I use a CRM software, which I have it's a branded version of Go High Level.
Okay. Yeah.
I use
Yeah.
actually with Genie. So I'm part of the Entrepreneurs Circle group in Birmingham.
Okay.
They have their own version branded as Genie.
Okay.
I'm going to say mostly it's pretty good, because I have some parts of my website built in it, and I'm not sure, for a normal business, the functionality should be great, but with my
Mm,
level of design and the detail and the kind of sometimes the customizable options that I want to show people, those kind of bells and whistles aren't. I'm not sure they're enough as I need it right now, but
right.
so, and then I have everything, the purpose of that really amazing software is it has a CRM, so inquiries can come through from all sorts of channels. Gives me a way of keeping everything in one place that, communication for inquiries and, having them in an organized pipeline because we do interiors and then I also have
Mm,
artworks and I have custom pieces of furniture and they're all kind of slightly different markets. For instance, I
yeah.
work with architects, I work with other interior designers for commercial situations, but I also would work with the end consumer who might employ me to do an interior for their house.
Okay.
They might ask me to just design a lovely light sculpture or chandelier for their hallway, but effectively I have multiple customers. I have multiple offerings of the sort of work that I produce. So in that vein, it can be quite complicated because I'm not always just marketing or communicating with the
Mm.
same people. So from
Do
from that aspect,
you have an office manager or exec assistant?
I have a kind of virtual PA.
Okay.
So
Okay.
to help me stay organized, I have a digital marketing apprentice
Okay.
working with me for the last 6, 7 months, helping me with some of my content production, and some of her work kind of overlaps into that aspect. But yeah, we're mostly it's freelance support that I
Mm.
rely on, and while we're trying to grow the business into its next phase, because we
Mm.
had time out in the States, effectively, we moved twice in America. So we lived in North California, then South California. So I had to kind of effectively, I set the business up again 4 times in the last 5 years.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and we were based in London initially. And so now I'm based down in the Hove on the South Coast.
Okay.
I'm in a different area, and that is um, that means I've got different contact base. My word of mouth customers are not the
It's
same,
different.
and I have to almost treat the business like I'm going from scratch again. So
I'm going to show you something because I think you're going to find it helpful. As when you're talking to me, Ben, business issues fall into three pots: revenues, strategy, people.
yeah,
Your business issues falling into the revenue category. And we have a model, and this might help you. It might not, I don't know, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. You've stated your purpose, which is to bring light to people's lives, beautiful purpose. And a vision. I haven't asked you about the long term vision for the business, but what we encourage our business owners to do is have a 10-year vision. And I
yeah,
don't know whether you have that. Is that written down somewhere?
it is. It is
Good,
kind of yes.
good, good. And core set of values that be very personal to you, I would imagine. Ben, do you have a core set of values?
I do. Yes.
Good, great, okay. Now, do you consider yourself to be a service or a product driven business?
I'm going to say it's mostly a service because it
Yeah.
is it's such it's a custom thing. Even if I'm
Mm-hmm.
creating one piece of art, there's
Yeah.
always a relationship and a communication where we're choosing someone's materials, making sure that it fits what they need it for. I'm giving them consideration. Well, actually, is this the right thing for you
Yeah.
because of X, Y, and Z?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a real consultative process, isn't it? It's not just here's something that's off the shelf. Um, and we test it by asking whether you know the names of their pets and where they go on holiday. And generally, I guess you know a lot about your customers.
Mostly I do because you
Yeah.
end up getting to know them, pretty well. On
Yeah.
some things they are incredibly last minute, and it's a rush to get them out the door. But but they're probably normally with people that I know quite well and, have built a relationship actually. So,
Yeah.
you know, go
Yeah.
on,
And the
sorry.
market focus is it's definitely Fortnum and Masons rather than Aldi.
Yes,
It's
that's
high end, high net worth individuals or corporates with deep pockets, definitely. Okay. So that's important. And where do you find customers, or do they now come to you?
So when I was in London, the word of mouth thing was imperative for me.
Mm,
I could work with agencies or I'd do work in someone's house, and it would the word of mouth was someone, oh, I saw this amazing XYZ that you did for these guys, and I want something myself.
okay.
So that was easy. And then we went to America. I had to kind of go, right, here I am, and
Yeah.
try and put my stand out. And effectively, I was advertising on house.com, which is,
Okay.
we were living out in a place called Los Gatos, which is center of Silicon Valley. And they're based there. So, as soon as they switched my account from a UK account to Silicon Valley, it just went crazy because there's
Right.
some wealthy people over there building, beautiful big houses. They're paid in tech money and
Yeah.
they want something different and exciting. So it was a great playground for me creating interiors. And what was fantastic is I just took my laptop and nothing else. I didn't have the
Okay.
overhead of a workshop, worrying about all my staff and other things. So for a short period, I was thinking, you know what, this is just a damn sight easier than the whole bigger business has been for some time. And
Yeah.
but then you get to, it's a really kind of intense relationship with some of the clients doing a house for someone, and it's fun. But as
Mm,
people and ideas get more exciting, they end up wanting to spend more money, and there's hidden costs that sometimes arise because of whether there's a problem or whatever it is, and it's quite an intense. So I do get to know their cat. I
yeah.
see them calling me at midnight on a Sunday, and it's like, okay, well, I kind of need to take this call because they're traveling, so it becomes
Right.
the boundaries kind of come down a little bit. But I'm prepared to do what it takes for a customer. If a customer's investing in me to do a big project like a house like that, then I'm going all in, and they know at the end of it I have absolutely broken my back to kind of
Mm,
look after them, give my absolute all, and they become very good friends. So
yeah.
um, it's um, it's a good thing. So that was a good example of finding interiors customers. But now I'm back in the UK. I've been focusing on my timepieces and my artworks. I'm going back out to kind of not knocking on doors again, but it's like, okay, knocking on the doors of the big architects and some super
Yeah.
yacht owners and some other people who I have dealt with in the past. And it's like I'm doing a bit more personal communication, showing my stuff to people. I've been doing a few trade shows, and because my work, there is that physical connection, and you need to see it in the flesh. You need to
Yeah.
touch the materials and see it.
Yeah.
So doing that in the flesh is much better than doing everything online. So as much as I'm trying to get a few people interested with my work, with some of the videos we put out on social media and stuff, it's what I really want is people to arrange a meeting to physically say, hey, can we see that in the flesh?
Okay.
Can you meet us, Ben, do a presentation to us? And I've got that going on in London, but I've got a showroom in LA that's selling some of my stuff. So I'm that's a big potential market for me, the American market, the hotels, the big interior designers in that LA area, and
Okay.
also then Dubai and the Middle East and all the hotels and commercial spaces. So that's um, yeah, trying to put as much effort into actually going out and putting myself out there now, more so than I used to, because that would
Mm.
be much easier to kind of come to me.
TriCrest trains brilliant people to be brilliant business coaches. Want to find out more and join our growing community of brilliant people doing brilliant work with brilliant businesses throughout the world? Go to tricrest.com, TRICRES.com. Thanks. If you were to pick a market that you really, really love working in, just one, which one would it be?
It's going to be the hotels, hospitality, the kind of entertainment end of, my work has there's say an excitement and a narrative about it.
Mm,
I think in, a lovely, like a W hotel, which,
mm,
is using modern materials, has a kind of sexy kind of aesthetic
yeah.
to it. It's really that sort of drama when you go through the door, you're spending a weekend there and you're like excited because the design is going to be beautiful, the experience of all the different art and stuff, you take it all in. And if I could have one arena to play in, I think it would be that.
Okay. We've got one in Edinburgh, W Hotel. I've not been in it yet because I live here. So,
Well,
there's,
now I'll send you a clock up and you can take it into
I
them.
will, I'll take it into them and show them.
Mm.
So that's really interesting that because from an outsider looking in, what I hear and feel actually when you say it is that you're spreading yourself really thinly
Yeah,
across a lot of markets. And it's something that I say to our coaches that we train. It is pick a niche and really, really go for it.
yeah,
And I think if the hotel and the hotel interior and stuff is your ideal client and your favorite space to play in, I would be tempted to focus on that primarily, so that your energies go in one direction. Somebody
yeah,
once taught me that if you set off to an island to reach an island and you set off in 5 different ways, actually it takes you longer than if you just set off in one way and just get there. And I think that's where you're at. Is that fair, or am I completely off the mark?
No, I'll be completely honest that
Yeah.
we came back from the States. I did a wonderful interior project for a previous customer, a second house, which was lasted about a year. Beautiful,
Right.
amazing interior project. Um, and that kind of gave me some funding to develop these timepieces because I was like, right, I am now going to
Okay.
commit my time to making this as a really unique piece. I love watches and gadgets and
Yeah.
high tech stuff. And for me, it was a passion project, almost blindly, kind of because I was stubborn and I was going to make this thing work. And
Okay.
the market partly, is partly domestic because there
Mm-hmm.
is there is collectors that want to have it for their homes.
Mm-hmm.
So I do need to approach the interior designers who are doing commercial spaces as well
Yeah.
as they have homeowners that are
Yeah.
could be the direct customer. Now, so I'm kind of working across lots of platforms. And while I have been testing new materials and finishes, I've created these new artworks and other things that just give me other kind of potential revenue streams. One,
Mm.
because I have the attention span of a newt, and I'm a creative, so
You are. You
I'm
are.
going to get these things out. And I've just launched this new collection called Kiss My Art, which is
I saw it.
basically
It's beautiful.
thank you. And that is about, that's like a gifting service, like a luxury artwork that for the woman who, or the person who has everything, the
Yeah.
partner who has it all. And it's like, so it is I give them a beautiful gift box. They open it, they apply their lipstick, put the print of their kiss on a card, send it back to me, and they don't know what they're getting back. And then I send a gold leaf artwork and a kind of marble background in a
Yeah.
frame that captures their lips as this beautiful
It's
print.
beautiful.
And that kind of came, thank you very much. That came from the processes I used developing the timepieces but yes, it's potentially a distraction from then the timepieces because it's like a good idea, a great idea, and I show it to people in LA and back here, and the
Mm.
interest is brilliant, but that's almost a business in itself.
Mm.
And what I'm actually looking at right now is, do I just segment that and you know make that a business on myself? The timepieces are really the thing that if I could only do one thing now, I would, I want to see those succeed. Now, I love doing interiors and I love,
Mm.
you see that there's textured walls behind me, designing
Mm.
the fireplace, the furniture. Absolutely love the creative process, especially if, a new client comes to me and it's like, and right at the beginning, and I take them on this journey where it's like, okay, if we walk through the front door, what's the first thing we see? Is there a beautiful chandelier that's like raining down over you like an illuminated jellyfish? And you take them on this imagination idea of walking through the house and all these beautiful things that they see, as if they're taking their best friend or their brother or sister around the house as come look at the new house. And you kind of take them on this journey, and that's a lot of fun
Yeah.
for the creative aspect. Getting it all done, yeah, it's very hard, very complicated, lots of changes all the way along the way. And actually it's exhausting. And while you're
Mm.
doing that with other things. So for now, I've kind of deliberately not been promoting that side of my work for some time. And I have
Okay.
focused on the clocks, but I also need funding to put into the marketing. And there's a limit, I'm at a balance where I've spent a lot of money getting the product perfect to the
Yeah.
point where it's, there could be let's say, a more harder nosed businessman sat on my shoulder, even my wife, who would be saying, Ben, it's now, that's perfect. Nobody's even going to understand
That
or see the
I
change.
was just going to say,
Yeah.
have you got a business manager?
No.
Right.
I mean, I have got some people on board, yes,
Yeah.
now, but
Yeah.
up until kind of 6 months ago, I was kind
Yeah.
of, which is why I was coming up with new ideas to help me with some funding and, but
Yeah.
um,
That's because your ideas are superb and your execution is superb. So Steve Jobs had Steve Wozniak.
yes,
It's the implementer. It's the person that goes, hang on a sec, Ben, we need to finish this and then we can do that. Or Ben, you go off and do this while I sort this out behind you. And it's why bands have managers and why, writers and performers have agents.
yeah,
And artists, I think, need that too. And because yours is a business, the business manager is really, really crucial to creating a funnel through which it makes it easy for people to buy.
yeah,
And that was the next circle is the sales circle is that the business manager would set all that up. So you've got the connections and they would almost hoover up behind you to make sure things were progressive, that you didn't have to think 3 years from now, God, I've got to follow that up, or they would be doing that, which leaves you free to be creative. And
Have
is
you got
that the
one under
role
the
that,
desk?
pardon?
Have you got one under your desk?
Um, no, but I can help you find one, and we'll take it off air. And I help. So when I work with entrepreneurs and business owners, often one of the first things I do, if they haven't got a second in command, a right hand man or woman, I go out and find the right hand man and woman for them. So I spent 15 years in recruitment, so I know how to find good people. So we can take that offline if you want. But yeah, that's just from a really high level overview. That's the piece that's missing from your business that will enable you to produce more of those. And they're gorgeous. The clocks are amazing. And as you were talking, I was thinking, the clocks appearing in their hotels, foyers, and posh gyms. People go, wow, who made that? Your cards would be there. And those individuals will be high net worth individuals. They'll look on your website and they'll see the lip that design that you've done, and they'll go, I want that for my partner. So you will get those people finding you through your clocks. It's an and, it's not an or.
Yes. Well, I've got a couple of people on board that certainly more recently, and it's giving them the right time to kind of allow us to kind of do the things that we need to do. And
Yeah.
I am also still trying to trying to keep my creative hunger and ambitions at bay, because they're effectively, my imagination is almost my enemy at the moment, because I'm still, if I could just sit and churn out ideas, oh my God, I'd be, and it's not even I do it for money. I actually do it,
No, can
the
see
financial
that.
aspect is it just is things that are, I like to do things that cost a lot of money and a lot of effort and a lot of time to do.
Yeah.
It's the connection, it's like
Yeah.
people are stood in front of my clock. It's actually the hotel. It's a show called Hicks is on today and tomorrow.
Okay.
and I
Okay.
exhibited there 2 years ago. And the reaction of some people is they kind of, you can see them across the hall, their eyes just lock on. And
Yeah.
they're like, oh
Stunning.
my, and you can just, literally they're about to explode. By the time they get to you, they're like, what is that? Oh my God, is that a time? Is that a clock? They're like, and I say, yeah, what do you think? Does it look like a clock? And they're like, yeah, is that second? They're like, oh my
Yeah.
God, it's genius. Oh my God, that is just so cool. But it's not everyone. I can have some people who just walk past it and don't even
Yeah.
notice. And that's totally cool with me, because what I do is not for everyone. It is
No, no.
people that are kind of into that James Bond
Yeah,
thing.
they're not your clients. How much does one of those clocks cost?
This one behind me is about 9,500.
It's beautiful. It's
Thank,
absolutely beautiful. And I think it's worth every penny.
thank you.
Um, so
Made in
what
England. It's made in local within 100 miles of my workshop. Everything is made apart from the Italian electronics, which
wow. I
but
love that.
but I do need
Okay.
an agent, someone that can be my
Yeah.
agent. And I
Yeah.
had someone, but and she still does things for me, but she's in a slightly different era and I think her other artists are very more crafty and
Okay.
beautiful stuff, and it's a privilege to be part of her kind of body of work. But my stuff
Hmm.
very much stands out as being much
Yeah.
more sharp and
Yeah,
high
it is.
tech and slick, and
It
it
is.
doesn't quite sit with the other pieces. And
Yeah.
and that's totally fine, but I need the person that deals with this sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
there's a gallery in Miami who I am chasing.
Good.
That's, my work sits so well alongside their other artists.
I
But,
can imagine.
it's finding that right person. But as you say, a business manager that's actually almost, a right-hand man that is involved with all sorts of things,
Yeah.
that ideal person. I don't, have as a singular role, and that potentially would be, or the agent. I think of it as the artist design agent who kind of gets
Yeah.
me out there, helps kind of
Yeah.
direct me along the path.
Yeah.
There's a involvement of PR. There's involvement of keeping me at bay from kind of,
Leaving you to do what you do best and create.
sure,
That's what you do best. And
absolutely,
wheeling you out in front of those clients so that they meet you, the artist, because it's really special. People get really excited when they meet the artist. You
yeah,
put the artist next to their work, and people get very, very excited about that and ask you all kinds of questions, and you're really engaging, and people will be like, oh, he's amazing. I've got to have a piece of his work. And it's that business manager to open the specific doors in a very systematic and process driven way, which, as I say those words, you're probably going, oh my God, systematic and process.
I'm fully aware that it needs, because it's the kind of opposite of my free
It
spirit
is.
kind
It
of,
is.
and without some structure to it, I can be a creative off in the land of the fairies, but it's
Yeah.
not a business. It
Yeah.
becomes, that's then more of an expensive hobby. But and there's certainly the danger of falling down that hole, because some of the stuff needs so much effort, so much money.
Yeah.
I've spent six figures developing these timepieces in the last year and a half, and
Wow.
to the point where, my wife is like, there's a point, Ben, where you can't keep going to a point until you've got the right team, and it's like I'm putting them in place, but it's almost not happening fast enough. And
Okay.
so there's all, and I am reaching out for advice, and I'm, is almost taking on bits of advice, and that's also a little bit of an enemy and a conflict of interest, because everyone has such slightly different things and ways of doing things, and you go down
They
one
do.
direction, and someone else pulls you back in a slightly different direction. And as you say, I want to be there to talk about my passion,
Yeah.
talk about the connection with the people. It's like when I feel like I'm knocking on doors, and because I'm so invested in the work, if people aren't interested, it's almost painful, because I'm like, oh God,
Yeah.
surely, why aren't you interested? It's amazing. And then it's like,
Yeah.
because they're not even looking. And then when I know the main guy has looked at it, he's like, get him in, tomorrow.
Yeah.
I want to speak to him immediately, and we're best friends. He's like,
Yeah.
God, come out and ride motorbikes with me. Oh my God, but you've had to get through 5 secretaries and all this to get to
Yeah.
the main guy. And he's like, just call me directly. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And you're like, fine, that for a year. And
So I always like to leave my guests with something really useful that I can do. We'll take our conversation offline. But there are a couple of people I'm going to introduce you to. One does design luxury yachts, and I'm going to put you in touch with her. You may already know of her, I don't know, but she designs the most incredible luxury yachts. I mean, and your stuff is perfect for her designs because it's very futuristic.
can you
Very
share a name, or
futuristic.
is that a private name that you share offline?
I'll share it after we've finished. And the other thing is, once we talk offline, we'll talk about potential business manager. But I will talk about your art when we put the podcast out, because you'd be amazed. 9,000 sounds like a lot of money to a lot of people, but actually for people who collect art,
For sure.
9,000 is nothing to them. And I'll make sure the word gets out there to some key high net worth individuals about your stuff, because it is stunning, really stunning.
Well, that also, leads me to a conversation where, I was basically doing something with Brunel University, trying to
Wow.
kind of see how I could use my innovation and their support to kind of take it forward. And I met a great business mind there who was
Yeah.
he works in the world of investment and kind of looking after investors' money to kind of make
Okay.
sure that if someone, pays a fortune to a business, he makes sure that that business is kind of doing what they said they were going to do.
Great.
So, he's a why, he's got some great business
Good.
methods, but his conversation was the £9,000 for the rich guy. It's too expensive for the guy who thinks he's rich.
Yes.
Have,
Yes.
he might have a £2 or £3 million house and a Porsche and a
But he won't be spending £9,000 on a clock.
not spend 9 grand on a clock.
Yeah.
Whereas the guy who's got a super yacht and a Boeing 757, and
Yeah.
it's not expensive enough. So then it's like, it needs to be £100 clock or a £200 clock. Otherwise it doesn't even get looked at. And
Yeah.
it's the danger of, who am I trying to appeal? And I want to make it a fair price for something beautifully engineered, but actually I'd rather gallery go and find me some people, which is why I want someone like this gallery in Miami who have absolute perfect clients.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a sales guy. I love talking to people, and I love the concept of my work, knocking on people's doors and, trying to kind of get the door to open to speak to someone.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
something
listen,
I have of me. Absolutely.
off this call, one of my former clients, is IP lawyer in Miami. And he's heavily into the art world in Miami. So again, off this call, I'll find out which gallery you want to get into, and I'll see if he's got any connections, and he'll make an intro. He's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. He serves mainly artists and creatives with his law firm, so he's right in that space. Okay, right. I could talk to you forever, Ben. Thank you so much. Are there any questions that you've got for me?
No, it's I wanted to say something, very smart and intelligent, but my mind is actually, wow, why haven't I managed to speak to you sooner? And something
Bless
that
you.
something that you've kind of identified. And it's not that I deny it, anyone I speak to, I'm passionate about what I'm trying to do. It's hard, it's difficult, and I'm doing
Yeah.
everything myself, self-funding everything.
Yeah.
Make the same mistakes or not the same mistakes because I'm kind of repeating the same things, and I lose interest quickly. A salesman, is chasing leads, a hard no,
Yeah.
yes, no, okay, I'll see you next, no, whereas I'm,
Yeah.
you get someone who doesn't answer the phone on the first time, and they're kind of like, oh, I'll give up then. I'm going to
You're an
go,
artist, Ben. Stay
yeah,
in your lane.
for
Stay in
sure.
your lane. That's what you do best.
Well, I
Cool.
know there's people out there that fit the
There
bits that
are.
I need.
Yeah, there
And,
are.
I have some friends down here for actually have a great arts company in London. Their company's called Acrylicize, who I used to do some work with. And the two guys, you've got James, the creative, and you've got Paul, who's the kind of, he's the ruthless business guy who's chasing
Right.
allows James to be the creative. And then they built, a great team, and I've done some fantastic projects for them. But it's always like, yeah, and I say it to James, yeah, I need my Paul. I need a
Yeah,
Paul.
you do. You really do.
Right.
Right. And on that note, we'll stop the podcast, but stay because I need to talk to you about stuff. Thank you so much. And thank you for being so open. I really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing your art. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me in the Business Coach's Chair. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. If you want to join TriCrest as a business coach, we're looking for brilliant people because we train brilliant people to be brilliant business coaches. Go to our website, tricrest.com, tricres.com, to learn more. Or if you want to join me in the Business Coach's Chair, contact me at hello@tricrest.com. Either way, I'll see you soon.